that's it. There's no more fluff after this. I'm just gonna be going over my most common DMs, and let's just go. So the first one is, how did I get my bounce? I guess there are a couple ways to answer this, but basically as a kid, I think one of the most important things I did was jump. Like, I would jump in the house, I would jump outside, I would jump when my mom was yelling at me, I was jumping when people were watching, I was jumping when nobody was watching, I was just jumping in a bunch of different capacities. Since I was competing in track and field, my objective was pretty much to basically just become a better jumper. I started lifting. My lifting was just general whole body. I mean, I would squat. I did a little bit of deadlifting, but it was mainly squatting, lunging, split squats, things like that, 3x10. And I did that for several months, and I got stronger, and I jumped higher. So what is my workout routine? My workout routine, I mean, currently is not very fancy. I posted one before, which just included some heavy squats, some leg press, some injury prevention, isos for my tendon health, for my knees, my quads. That's what I'm doing right now. Currently, still, I'm mainly focusing on isos, not making it too complicated. And I'm also trying to incorporate a lot more bounding and sprinting, because at this point, that's what I need. All right, so is it all genetics? I feel like I have so much to say about this. I'm not gonna deny the fact that, like, I'm an athlete. I've always felt like an athlete. I feel like I carried myself as an athlete, you know, through track and field for most of my life. Obviously, genetics affects so many things. If anybody wants to use that as an excuse for themselves as to why, like, they can't, you know, reach a certain level of performance, I say, have fun with that. I can't really help you with that. But one thing I would think about is, you know, when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, I mean, up until I really started getting serious and I was on my track and field teams, you know, training super consistently, actually having stuff programmed out. Until then, like, there was no way that you could forecast what I'd be able to do now based on what I was doing when I was in high school. I think training has been extremely impactful. If I had, you know, at the age of 10 said, I love chess is what I want to do, and I put everything into chess, 10 years later, I'd be a very good chess player. But in terms of dunking or jumping, I'd probably be pretty bad. I could say the same thing for, like, soccer. If I fell in love with soccer and all I did was soccer, and I played soccer all through middle school and high school, I could get to the same age I am now, you know, 10, 12 years later. I'd be a great soccer player, and I would most likely not be a good jumper. So bottom line is, I hope it's not all genetics, because if it's all genetics, then I wasted a shit ton of time jumping and lifting, practicing. I could just wake up, get out of bed, and do all the stuff I can do now. So how do you increase your vert? This is super common. Obviously, people want to know how to increase their vert, and for me, that just depends so much. Oftentimes when people DM me, say, how can I increase my vert, give me tips, I'll say, like, you know, tell me a bit about yourself. What have you done so far? Because it's not one blanket answer for everybody. You know, if I have some guy who just says, give me tips on how to increase my vert, and maybe he's like 180 squatting 400 pounds, he'd probably be best fit to focus on something like technique, force production, doing things like sprints, bounds. Another case might be somebody who's like 5'7", 200 pounds. I'm not gonna say, hey, just practice technique, like that's gonna get you there. I definitely encourage him to lose some weight. And I'm not like a nutritional expert. I'm not like a training expert by any means. It's much, much harder to jump high when you're overweight. I went over this in a previous video, how to jump higher, article from Jump Science, but generally just being lean, being strong relative to your body weight, accumulate a history of jumping, as well as being flexible through the ranges of motion that you need to be able to get through in your athletic movements. For beginners and young people, like, my best advice would be jump and then get into lifting. Just build a foundation of strength. That can be done relatively easy for beginners. And for the more advanced athletes, so much more complicated. And it's definitely not even exactly about what you do, but it's more about when you do it. That's why programs are so beneficial, especially when they can take into account your experiences and your strengths and your weaknesses, things like that. I think it's important to separate, you know, jumping from dunking. I feel like I've said this before, but you can be a good jumper and you can be a shit dunker. You can be a good dunker, you can be not so great of a jumper. A lot of dunking is skill, it's hand-eye coordination, it's ball control, it's style. That's something that should be worked on separately. Like, I would not even say I'm a good dunker. I can jump pretty high, and I still have a lot of work to do in terms of dunking. So why do I only jump off vert? I don't only jump off vert. It's kind of relatively new, especially like dunking wise. A lot of the stuff I didn't really know I could do. The dunk camp definitely opened my eyes to all these things that are possible. But honestly, my 2-foot approach technique is super inconsistent. Sometimes I can have technique that I'm happy with. Other times I'm like, this is terrible. I'm blowing over my block foot. I can't even make a simple 1 or 2-handed dunk with an approach, but when I go to off vert, it kind of decomplicates things. I don't know if that's a word. It uncomplicates, decomplicates. It makes things less complicated for me sometimes when I can just jump off vert. I feel like that's consistent. I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with it. I feel like my off vert dunk completion percentage is higher than my, approach dunk completion percentage. That makes sense. And then also it's unique. It's not something people see a lot, and it's a way for me to kind of make a name for myself on social media. I think a lot more people are going to start doing it and realizing that they can, and the things that are actually possible. That's cool. Will this make me jump higher in a week or a month or a year? I don't know. I can't really tell you that, but what I post is what I'm doing. Their skills I think are important. I don't think they're going to hurt you, especially long term, when done correctly and without pain. I feel like a lot of people overcomplicate it. If they don't hear the exact answer, like if they don't hear some crazy secret workout that they've never heard before, then they're not gonna do it, or they're like, no, I'm gonna wait until like I hear about this thing that I've never heard about before, and that's gonna transform me in a week, in a month. I just don't think that's a reality. It's absolutely a long-term endeavor. Finally, how tall am I? Unless I grow or shrink, which I doubt it, I'm just over 5'9", 5 feet 9 1/4 inches without shoes on. And I just say this because I dunk in a couple different shoes. I don't know exactly, where that puts me after I put on the shoes. And then I've only measured my standing reach in shoes. At the dunk camp, it was measured, I was reaching my hand up as high as I can. It was measured at 7 feet 8.5 inches. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like if you guys liked it, or dislike if you didn't like it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.